Hello there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Talk Music Talk with Boice. I am Boice. This is my podcast. I am your podcasting host. Thank you for checking it out. If this happens to be your first time listening to Talk Music Talk, let me tell you that it is a weekly interview podcast where I have discussions with people connected to music from different genres and different backgrounds, both established and emerging, and from all genres of music. And it is February, so I want to know, is it too late to wish you a happy new year? And I say this because it's been a minute since I've had a show out, so this is the first episode of the new year, 2019. So you know what? I am just going to wish you a happy new year anyway, because who would want to be denied that? This episode, an excellent one, very excellent. Samuel Worthen, singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, came to my attention through a connection that we have, a past TMT guest, Nick Pope. They are friends and also musical collaborators. That was a great episode with Nick Pope, which of course I will put the link in the show notes. Great conversation with Samuel. We talk about his past life as a teacher/model. Now he is just modeling as a day job to fuel his passion for a music career. Over the past year, he has been releasing a few singles. He has a new one out now. It is called One on One. In our conversation, we talk about the music he's been working on, his songwriting process. We talk about him being in the studio, inspirations, both modeling and teaching we talk about, plus a few deterrents to his music career that he has overcome. After the conversation, you are going to hear that new, freshly out single I mentioned, One on One, referred to previously as Magic in the conversation. New name change, so 101 is Magic when you hear the conversation. And you will also hear his previous single, Talk to Me, which was my intro to his music. It was a pleasure to meet Samuel and to talk to him, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. Here it is, without further ado, my interview with Samuel Worthen. Enjoy. There's very little about you online.
Oh, yeah.
That's good or bad, right? It depends.
I mean, it's just a testament to how few people who don't know me personally know about me.
Okay.
The only thing on me that's online is when I was a teacher, I still work as a fashion model, but that was, combined with the fact that I was a teacher, interesting to people. And so I had this kind of like what I felt was unmerited attention for just having two incongruous careers. And I raised money for my students so we could like have an adequate library.
Yeah.
So if you Google me, I think that's probably what
that comes up. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's cool.
I was definitely in the right place at the right time, but if that's the only thing online about me,
yeah. So you're like teacher/model.
Yeah. That was my life for a couple of years.
Yeah. How long did you teach?
I taught full time for 2 years, and then because I had this opportunity to travel and work while I was traveling, I took that and I worked around the world for a year, and I taught part-time for a year, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a teacher again. It's just while I'm pursuing my music, even when I was a full-time teacher, I never felt like I was serving my students adequately. I did feel like I was trying my best.
Yeah.
But when I'm a teacher again, I want to be in a place where I'm comfortable setting aside this huge ambition that I have for myself, which is my music. So I'm taking the time I need to record my music and share it. But on the other hand, when you're a teacher, you feel needed.
Yeah.
And I just miss knowing that, that I don't want to overestimate who I was to my students, but it's just like when you're a teacher and you're not enjoying what you're doing, it doesn't matter so much because you know that other people need you to be doing it. When you're a musician and you're like, I don't like my song, it's like, well, what are you doing? Because no one else is going to like it either. You might as well stop. So I think that's kind of the fundamental difference for me.
But you at least cared while you were doing it, which is
sure.
Because kids can tell that the teachers who don't care.
Yeah, I cared, and I still care about my former students. I helped one of my former students with her college application recently. It's certainly not a matter of like not caring or not being inspired by the profession. It was just having this lifelong dream to make music that I'm proud of. And recognizing the shortness of the opportunity to go for it and deciding to go for it.
Yeah. What did you teach?
I taught 8th grade English.
Because that's what you majored in, right?
Yeah. Was that information online? I guess it must have been. That must have
My
been,
team must have unearthed all this.
I guess it probably says that in one of those articles. Yeah, I in college I started out mostly taking music classes, and then when I was a senior, I started having tendinitis that really just prevented me from playing my instruments, guitar and trumpet. And so, fortunately, I had already been taking a lot of English classes, and I wasn't far from... I think my plan had been to do English and music, but by my senior year, I just couldn't play music. So I decided I wanted to be a teacher, and I started taking Spanish so I could more effectively serve students who speak Spanish. That proved to be crucial in the school I was in. And I was just a 100% English major. So that's a long answer to your question.
So you were going into school because you went to Brown, right?
Yeah.
You knew you went into, like, music was the field that you went in hoping...
I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, for me, I don't know.
Or were you buying time? Or?
Well, that's also a fair assessment. I've never really heard that phrase applied to college, but I immediately knew what you meant.
Yeah.
It's a... I worked through college, but I was able to... I had many, many hours in which I wasn't and was able to do my music. And, I'm so grateful for the 4 years that I had. I went in knowing I wanted to be a musician, but also recognizing, I guess I also had a fear of not going to college because I think that it was expected of me, so I went. But having gone, I just like everything I did there, music and otherwise, felt important for me. I recognized very clearly that I wasn't serving anyone else when I was there, but I was trying to grow, and I think my particular experience at college was great for me in that way.
Were you doing extracurricular stuff with your music, playing out
I was
shows?
playing my own shows. Yeah, I played with two friends, Johnny Coe and Jamie Freed. We played for a year, and then before I had tendinitis, I used to teach music at an arts camp, and I was teaching like 9 to 15-year-olds with electric instruments, so one can imagine that it's pretty demanding on your voice, and I just like really messed up my voice one summer, and so I couldn't really sing for a long time, so I really just had 1 year at college where I was like fully doing my music the way I am now. But that was also a good experience, in the long run, because I couldn't sing, I had to like stay I had to divert the intensity of intention that I had on my singing on something else, just to be happy. And so I started studying classical guitar, and the technique I learned from that allows me to do things that I wouldn't have thought to do if I hadn't studied in the pop music that I make. So every kind of little impasse that I had where I wasn't able to do something the way I wanted to for a year or a few years, I think ultimately just allowed me to be more whole as a musician.
Okay.
And that's how I see it now from the present.
Yeah. So what, like, your voice, like, it was, like, not at top speed, or you were hoarse?
My reticence in responding is not that I don't want to share information. It's that I don't really have any good medical explanation for what was going on. I've had chronic pain for since I was like 14, and that comes from like muscle tension, anxiety, which creates muscle tension, which creates pain, which creates anxiety, and it's a self-perpetuating cycle.
So that's what I have.
Oh, interesting. And yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And my best, and I'm always interested to, hear other people's stories. But my only theory with my voice is kind of like something like that was going on, because it really hurt to speak and to sing, and it was tense. And so, I just couldn't really sing for about 18 months, 2 years. Okay.
Did that scare you when that happens?
Definitely. I definitely was sad. I was silent every Sunday, and my friends were really cool about it. Really cool about like still paying attention to me even when I wasn't speaking. And like a couple of my friends and I would like have conversations through writing notes. One of my friends and I would get a headphone splitter and just like take a walk, and I felt so together with her in that time, even though we weren't really exchanging words. So I'm still grateful for that. And but yeah, it was weird. It was, it hurt to talk too, and like obviously I talked to communicate, but a lot of the time I avoided hanging out with people because it hurt. But the plus side of that was I started practicing guitar like in a structured way, at least 2.5 hours, usually 3 hours a day, and so I got better.
So how'd you get relief from all that?
I guess my age doesn't really matter, but I was 21, and there was a person who I loved, and I was like 90% sure, 90 to 100% sure that she was gonna break my heart. Okay. So I had like
is this one of those things when you meet the person like...
No, not exactly. Okay. Well, I definitely... I think I understand the situation you're talking about. Yeah. For me, it was someone who I'd been with. She went abroad. We stayed in touch. She came home and kind of was just different around me in a way that was like, okay, I think she's going to tell me she doesn't want to be with me anymore. But because I realized that before she vocalized it, I had like 24 hours to try to preempt it. And so I was like, I gotta make a song. But I can't sing, but I'm gonna sing because I'm in love. And I did. It really hurt, and it sounded gnarly, but like I wrote a song, and I sang it for her the next day, and we stayed together for a little bit. Okay. So that, I don't know, I think there's like this mythology of like songs working to change people's minds. And I've definitely never had anything resembling a change of heart due to a song I made, except for that. And I'm very great. That was just such that little but also immeasurable triumph for me is enough for a lifetime. And I actually, the only recording I have of that song, I just like put my microphone on when I sang it for her. So it's definitely like I don't know. It's nice to have it as a record, especially of like the moment where I decided I had to sing again, no matter how it felt. I haven't thought about this in a long time.
So that was sort of like the impetus to you,
To
like
get
just
back
pushing
in the
through.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And by giving you a grace period with her.
Well, right. Yeah. I don't even know what the right way to articulate it is, but I made a song, and then I started making other little songs, inspired by my friends, because Nick Pope,
who I've previously interviewed.
yes, and a few other gentlemen who we'd all been friends with. I think in the beginning it was Nick Pope, Ryan Kershaw, and Zach Trahan, 4 of us, and who are, you also mentioned in Nick's interview, they kind of are some of the founders of the Odd Gift Collective.
Yeah.
And we had this thing that Nick named Iron Chef Book Club, and then changed the name because he was worried about copyright infringement. But the premise was that every 2 weeks, I think, one of us came up with an assignment.
Yeah.
And that assignment was to make like a 1 to 2 minute piece following 3 rules.
Okay. And the rules would change?
Every week, yeah. And so, like, one time, it was like, quote someone else's song, like another chef's song, make it a lullaby, and make it maybe 1 minute, something like that. And then we'd all submit. And that also really helped me kind of get back into making music. Because I mean, to this day, love and respect those people, and especially their musicianship. So, you know, I think in my life, I'm eager to admit that wanting to impress people I care about is a huge factor in what I do. And it really helps with my music too. Like, if I'm working on a song, like my friend Lindsay, who has declared herself to be my biggest non-related fan, which is very kind. But whenever I'm working on something, I'll ask Lindsay, like, hey, it's usually when I'm like, I know I'm going to be up most of the night, and I want to get to the next day with something to show for it. And I'll say, hey, I'm working on something. Is it cool if I just send it to you?
Yeah.
And it doesn't really even matter if she listens in, you know, the near future, or tells me what she thinks of it. Just the knowledge that, like, someone I respect so much could listen to my music makes me want to make it good. And I'm just so grateful to have people like that in my life. Period. But it's a huge part of me making my art in a way that I feel good about.
Did it give you also someone to be accountable for? Like, I told them I'm going to give them a song or make a song, so now I got to follow through.
Certainly. I think of all the people in the world, the person to whom I'm most comfortable breaking a promise is myself, and least comfortable breaking a promise to someone who I love. And so, and of course it'd be nice to be able to, you know, just commit to something because I want to do it and not tell anyone and get it done. But so far in life, my nature is much more motivated by doing right by certain people who are important to me. So it makes a really big difference. Just having someone to basically report to.
Okay. Do you like have like a writing schedule, or just like inspirationally stuff comes and you work on it?
I don't have a writing schedule. Though that is a really cool idea. Like, the fact that you mentioned that makes me wonder what it would be like if I had a schedule. Because formerly my favorite writer, who because of his behavior towards women, I don't read anymore, but he wrote from 7 a.m. to 12 pretty much every day. That was just his routine, and it was just interesting for me to read about another person who creates, I don't know, things where its purpose is to be beautiful and is often kind of sprawling in its structure in such a regimented way. And I'm trying to think if I know any stories of musicians and having such a routine, but
because you hear about it from authors a lot. Like,
but
I write from 12 to 3 or whatever, but you don't hear it from musicians too much.
Yeah, I mean, I was also thinking when you invited me to speak, I was like, I'm definitely comfortable about talking about my own music, but the title of the show is Talk Music, Talk with Boice. And I was like, I don't know that much about capital N music. Like, Boice might have a question for me, and I'll just be like, I don't know who that is.
That's just an umbrella.
But, so the world of music is a world that I just have glimpses of from the pieces of music that have happened to inspire me and individuals. But I admire people who have a broad knowledge body and really anything. And I just recognize how little I know about all of the music there is.
Yeah. Who has inspired you?
I think I have to mention both people who I know personally and those I don't, because it's kind of just a different kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Because one is unilateral and one is bilateral. And who do I mention first? It feels like a big deal. The two most important people, who I'll mention in the same breath because I think they're equally important in different ways, are my friends Matthew O'Coin and Nick Pope. I grew up. We met when we were like 15. So in that sense, I grew up with them. And they had a band, and they needed a trumpet on like one Sufjan Stevens song on Come On Feel the Illinois. And so they asked me if I wanted to play it. And I played that show with them, and I just kind of kept contributing more in each show. And like the whole time I was just like, I felt like my position in the group was tenuous because they're just so, to this day, but also 15 years ago. No, not quite 15. 12 years ago. We're just so many worlds better at music. But it was an amazing privilege for me to get to play with them. And Matt, I call him Matt, but his like music world name, Matthew O'Coin. He's a composer. He's and in other moments in his career has been a conductor too. He just has staged his debut opera, and he's working on another one. And is adored in the new music world. And that's just so exciting for me to see. But Matt and I like played indie rock together when we were kids. And I got to learn from him. Like, I remember like going to Matt's basement and like having my little guitar, and the goal was like, hey, let's show each other songs we've made. And Matt would show me a song and be like, well, that blew me away, and I could never make that. Here's my song. And Matt, I don't know, he genuinely liked, I believed him when he said he liked things about the songs I had. And that, I haven't thought about this moment in so long, but that was huge, because it's like, this person who I just admire superlatively, period, but in many ways, but as a musician, like thinks that what I do is worthwhile. And that really helped. And then Nick is the same way. Like, I think what's one thing that's important is that Nick makes music that, while certainly distinct from the music I make, has things in common. And so when Nick made something, I never thought like, well, if Nick can do it, I can do it, because like I'm aware of all the things that all the tools that Nick has that I don't have. But I also thought like, well, with my tools, I think I can make something that I'm gonna like, that might be inspired by something that Nick created. And so I'm trying to think of there's a couple songs where I started writing and thought like, okay, like this reminds me of a certain phrase that Nick sang, and then from there, you know, the imitation needs to stop because it has to be me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so many of the songs that make me excited to make songs are by Nick, and a huge part of that is because they're just good.
Yeah.
And another huge part of that is that this is someone I know well, and like because I have a little window into the creation of something I think is so good, it just gives me a lot of a feeling of possibility for myself. And I was thinking today, Nick also one time just texted me and said that he loves my lyrics, and that was it kind of like the parallel moment with Matt. I was like, well, then I guess I'll try to as well. Especially with lyrics, I'm just kind of ruthless with myself, and because I dislike such a majority of the lines that just come out of my mind, I end up presenting things I feel pretty good about because it was interesting to hear Nick say in his interview with you that like it's got to be immediate, it's got to be real. For me, it's like, here's a little line that I like, and now I'm gonna write like 30 pages of lines I don't like, and from those 30 pages, hopefully like a page that I can sing for people.
Okay.
Nick and Matt, for people I know personally, are definitely the people. The people were the biggest influence on me. Also, friends who I play music with now, Miles Robbins. I play in a group with him, and I really like the way he tells stories and uses humor and uses like kind of surprising vocabulary in his songs. Yeah. And my friend Elias, if you're listening and I'm saying your name wrong, it's Spectre Zabuski, and he just writes songs that have an emotional realness and sincerity that I aspire for in my own songs. And they, unlike my songs, are pretty intricate. My songs recently are pretty simple, and I love that Elias makes songs that are inventive and complex and kind of risk-taking, but never stray from the emotional story. Yeah. So those people are important to me as influences. In terms of people people that other people are likely to know about already. I'm trying to think. St. Vincent's the artist who I've seen live the most times.
Yeah, okay. She's great.
I don't really know her recent music. Have you heard her recent music?
What was the last album? The one where it's just her face on the cover? It's very, there's no...
with no background. I was like, I think all of her albums have
what's the one that...
The one's like, New York is in New York without you. That
I think that's that. Yeah.
Huh. Okay, cool. Did you
I haven't kept up, but I did like that a lot. Okay, but I haven't kept up with her stuff.
I'll listen... With your recommendation, I'll listen to that album because I haven't even listened to it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm like kind of... I don't know what the word is, but... I'm not great at I'm not going to qualify it that way. It's very easy for me to continue to listen to the music I listened to when I was 18 within the genre of indie rock. Okay. When it's other kinds of music, I have a lot of like excitement for discovering it, but it's kind of interesting when I listen to to give you the answer you're looking for, the artists who I don't know. I guess maybe influenced me the most is fair to say. Are Fleet Foxes, Animal Collective, Wolf Parade. Do you know Wolf Parade? Yeah. They're like the one group I mention, and often people just aren't familiar. But the album "Apologies to the Queen Mary" by Wolf Parade was the first time I heard an expression of anger that felt like relatable to the anger that I felt when I was 17. That was also beautiful, and something that, like, this man, you could hear all this rage in his voice, but there's also a lot of dignity And hearing that inspired me to, well, basically make a song that was just a less good Wolf Parade song.
Okay.
But that was a step. Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like with Joni Mitchell's vocal phrasing is just, I feel like I'm going to cheapen the reality no matter how I try to describe it. But what's really cool, in my opinion, is that if you try to sing along with her, if you listen to the song hundreds of times and you're not thinking, you can follow it. But it just has, it's almost like it exists in a dimension beyond, conventional rhythm. It's just like, it's like coming out of her soul, and it knows how music works.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any interest in like explaining to you, the listener, what it's doing.
Yeah. She's more like you have to come to her.
Yeah.
She is not going to go to you.
I think
that you have to learn her to appreciate her music. She's not going to pander to you in any way.
Yeah.
And that it feels very educational. Like there's enjoyment in it, of course, but like it's very like you learn something. There's like you can always come back to like Hygieia is my favorite album by her.
Cool.
And like every time I listen to it, there's like something fresh, or I missed it, or
I would like to listen to that now because I really only like deeply know Blue. How do you spell Hygieia?
Hegira.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
That's like she was really getting to like more jazzy.
Cool.
Yeah.
And also like
and the phrasing's there, the great phrasing.
Yeah. I'm very curious to hear that. It always helps so much to have a recommendation. I don't have the discipline or confidence or whatever it is to like usually to pick up an album that I haven't heard about from anyone and listen through it unless it really grabs me from the beginning. But like it's like one person I respect says listen to it. It's such a gift because I will actually listen to it and like in many cases continue to listen to it. So
and it's one of those albums. Sure. It's one of those albums that may not be immediate, but like if you keep listening to it, like all this stuff keeps coming out to you, and then like songs you didn't really care for or get, like they just like, oh wait, that's my favorite song now.
What how does she accompany herself? Like what?
It was more I think she went traveling, so she only brought her guitar, so the music's more guitar based as opposed to piano.
Yeah.
So it definitely has that sound to it, and Jaco Pastorius is playing on it. Yeah,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, that
I absolutely recommend that.
Listen to.
Yeah, you won't be disappointed.
Cool. I was gonna say another thing I admire about her is her deep proficiency on both guitar and piano. Like, I mean, I'd love to be able to. I don't think I can play guitar as well as her anyway. But if I could play guitar and piano as well as her, it just seems so free and so cool. So those are like the artists that kind of formed how I listened to and wrote music as a kid. The Arcade Fire, Radiohead, Feels by Animal Collective is probably my favorite album.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's like Joanna Newsom. I think to me the lyricist who she's the one. I don't know. This feels immediately pretentious, but giving myself the benefit of the doubt. She's the one artist where I feel pretty comfortable categorizing her lyrics as literature, and I'm using that term only to mean that they sustain the same level of analysis that poems and I guess stories that were written with the intention of receiving them just on paper. They're like the song Emily. I do know that song.
What is that on Ease?
It's the first song on Ease. It's 12 minutes. And it tells a story in a way that there's this character Emily, but it's oblique enough to it's not like a linear story, but you can imagine different events that may have happened, and some of them are kind of escaping me right now. But I wrote the last stanza of that song and put it on my wall, and it's still like in my childhood bedroom.
Yeah. So what is it? What is the secret that she makes? Because my favorite album of hers is "Have a Drink on Me." Is it?
"Have One on Me."
"Have One on Me." Yes, that's something totally different.
No. I mean, I think I like that because one could be anything.
Yes. Have a drink on me.
Yeah.
How does she do that? That a 10, 15-minute song is like remains interesting throughout the whole, and she may not even be repeating passages, but it's like fascinating just listening to her.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about that record because I remember very clearly the first time I listened to it.
The triple record,
yeah, it's like 2 hours.
Yeah,
and I was with my friend Ariana, and we had a fireplace in my house, and we just like lit a fire and sat down and listened to the whole thing. And that's the first album where she sings like, have you heard The Milk I'd Mender, her debut album?
I've probably listened to like once or twice, but
she has like a really, I guess, distinct style. Like I have too much respect for Joanna Newsom and not enough confidence in my ability to imitate people to imitate her right now. But like, it's just wild. Like it's like something to get used to, if that makes sense. It's just really kind of like croaky. But then on Ease, her voice smooths a little bit, and then by Have One on Me, she's just in a pretty like classic way of such a skillful and beautiful singer. And I'm trying to think of songs. Well, there's Good Intentions Paving Company. Oh man, some just individual lines by Joanna Newsom. Like I could talk about her for a long time, but
so all this under your belt, right?
Well, under my belt,
all these influences and stuff like that. When do you like say that your music feels serious to you? That the stuff that you're writing is like, this can go out into the world.
Sure,
I'm proud of it.
Well, I think there's.
When do you hit that?
Yeah, there's like being proud, and then there's being proud, and having disclaimers, but feeling comfortable not saying them, and then there's being proud and not having any disclaimers.
Okay.
And I don't think I've ever achieved the last one. And it's always, it's
or do you remember like when you felt you turned a corner with your songwriting and singing, like everything just sort of like clicked?
I think the biggest corner, probably two big corners. One was like not being able to make music at all for 4 years, and kind of accepting that I was never gonna make music again.
This is part of the voice.
This is from tendinitis.
Okay.
My voice thing was like very short lived. It's like less than 2 years, and I was able to basically sing again. So there are two corners, and the first corner is being able to play music again, because for 4 years I couldn't play at all. I had tendinitis, and it was just like it's not that pain itself is a deterrent for me, because if something hurts, but I know if something really hurts, but I know I can keep doing it, it's fine. Like, for example, if my fingers are raw from playing guitar, I don't mind at all, because I know that, like, the skin will heal, and it's not going to affect my ability to play guitar. But I was in a position where if I played one day, it would be really painful, and then the next day it would be more painful, such that, like, there was just no way to make progress. But then I decided to just go for it, and I tuned my guitar a half step down. I was living in Madrid. I bought a relatively inexpensive classical guitar that still I thought sounded nice. I still enjoyed playing it. Tuned the guitar a half step down. I learned a song called I really can't remember. It's a song by Lenine, who's a Brazilian artist, and I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, and then I started making new songs, and I was in Madrid by myself, doing modeling work, but like spending most of my time with my guitar for another like month, almost 2 months. and what was kind of great is that I hadn't made songs for 4 years, and two things had happened. One was that I realized that I liked my music after I wasn't able to play it. Like there's a song I made called Beginners. I was 19, and when I released it, I shared it with friends. I was like, this is fine, but it's not nearly as good as the people that kind of inspired it. And I guess that's probably still true. But what happened when I wasn't able to play music is I would listen to my own songs, and it was almost like listening to an old friend, because like that me who played music wasn't available, and I just had a lot more empathy for myself and my music, and I realized like I like my music. It's if you define good by good enough to want to share with people and not feel like it's possible that I could be giving them something in addition to asking for their time. I've finally felt like my music was good, at least some of it. And then once I was able to play again, I held on to that. I think my songs I make now are in many ways simpler than the ones I previously made, and I think part of it is just being grateful to be able to play, and part of it is being way worse at guitar than I used to be. But I chose simple chords and I sang over them, and I think just certainly the gratitude of being able to do something I wasn't able to do for a long time made a difference for me.
So the pain just stopped on its own, or you had treatment?
I still have some pain when I play guitar and trumpet, but it's fine because it doesn't continually get worse.
Okay.
And I have to listen to it. Like before I had tendinitis, I would practice like 6 hours a day, no problem. And now if I do that, I usually have to take some time off. So, it just kind of changes my relationship to practicing. But, I think a huge turning point for me was losing my music and getting it back. And then the other big thing, I think, is the experience I've had with my friend who just happens to be a professional engineer and producer, and I pay him just like I would anyone else, but he's just been Kyle Joseph, who also made. Do you know Kyle, by the way?
I might have met him the first time I met Nick, but I can't remember.
Oh, okay. He's a great dude, but Kyle is. I mean, if there's any like single person to credit for my music coming to life as it has to this point, it's Kyle. And of course I appreciate his abilities. Like a huge part of why my songs are enjoyable to listen to and don't sound like, for example, if you put a song that Kyle produced in a playlist of songs by producers who are already very well known, it's not like Kyle's songs hold their own. They don't pale in comparison. And that's one of the tricky things as a new musician, which I am, is like you have to get people's attention. You have to get people to take you seriously. And in my opinion, you can make amazing music with low fidelity, but it's just much harder to win someone's attention. And so I'm really grateful that Kyle's as good as he is at what he does. But not in addition to that, it's just he knows how to manage my I don't know an appropriate way to characterize it, but challenging. I don't consider myself particularly challenging as an artist because of my personality, but the way I make songs is just exasperating. Like on Talk to Me, which is the last song I released, I recorded like 1,000 at like 1,200, approximately 1,200 vocal takes.
1,200?
Yeah, and Kyle was like, this is a record by like a factor of 5. And to be clear, it wasn't like I did the same thing 1,200 times. I wrote the song by recording and listening back. So I like improvise and 1,200 times.
Okay.
And
so you're punching in for 1,200 times?
Honestly, Kyle, I'm sorry to admit this. I don't know how to punch in. I'm going to need Kyle to refresh me on that. But effectively punching in, putting the play ahead where I wanted to, singing for 10 seconds. And like Kyle and anyone would argue that my style is like unnecessarily time consuming, expensive, and just like not essential to the result. It only hinders the result. And I think he's basically right. But I also am myself and can like understand why I work the way I do. And I'm trying to improve as well. And I think on this most recent song, although far from efficient when you compare me to another person, compared to the way I did Talk to Me, I have been more efficient.
Okay.
But for me, it's like, sometimes I sing the same thing 10 times because it takes that many times, 10 or 100, like,
who's counting?
Just add a 0. But sometimes it takes many times to hear myself singing honestly. Because I don't know, my relationship to my imagination is like, I've never tried to explain this even in my head, so I don't know if this is going to be true. But this is like a metacognitive example of how I think, which is that my brain produces thoughts, and a lot of them just will limit this to the idea of thoughts that are going to become lyrics. A lot of them just I know immediately aren't worth my attention, but a lot of them engaged me enough for me to write it down. And like, it's when I write something, especially if it's for the purpose of being sung, like again, just for contrast, what Nick was saying about writing what you have because what you have is the truth. For me, it's like, here's something that I thought of, and it somehow relates to my experience, but this word doesn't feel true. But it sounds good, so I'm conflicted.
Okay.
This word is more true, but it doesn't sound good. And for example, I spent an hour today comparing 2 words in a song. The line is, the yellow lights of Belgium sliding over your sweet sleeping, or the yellow lights of Belgium sliding over your sweet features. And I recorded a handful of takes of each because I knew I could only compare them if I like found myself singing them honestly. And then I bounced them and walked around the studio, and from that sort of removed perspective listened, and it was pretty clear to me that like sleeping felt like the right word.
Okay.
But
so it feels right, or you finally hit the tone in what as you're reading the lyric, that's right.
I think for me, listening is the only, and I'm not saying like suggesting what is an ideal process for any other person, but for myself, I only really ever know if something works when I'm listening. I can certainly know like preemptively that something doesn't work by looking at it. I can be like, I don't want to put that in my song. But to really believe it, I have to listen to it. And sometimes I'll sing it and feel pretty excited. But I rarely trust the lyric until I've listened to a recording of myself singing it. So yeah, it's all in listening, and a lot of time, like I don't know, I'm now like picturing, I don't know, watching myself record a song late at night. And something I do is like I'll track a vocal line, and then I'll make a new playlist and track another one, and then I'll press play, and like in a maybe unnecessarily dramatic moment, but because I do this dozens to hundreds of times, I'm trying to be quick, so I'd like drop to the floor, I like roll back and lie down while the playhead's going in time to hear each piece from the position of lying down and being relaxed. And that's how I compare.
So is this for each line of a song?
Each line that I have doubts about.
Okay.
But it's interesting in that, not interesting to other people. One thing that is true is that I judge something much more harshly like after about a week of having written it. I think the initial enthusiasm of writing something like makes me a more generous self-critic. But yeah, it almost always happens where like I write a song and I like it enough to like show it to Kyle, and then like a week later I'm like, this is kind of a dumb song, but something in it is genuine, and I'm gonna use that little piece to make a song I do believe in. But like most of the songs that I've released since being able to play music again happened that way. I wrote a song that I didn't really believe in, but part of it I did, and I rewrote it more or less.
So let's see. So when you commit a song to mastering it, recording it, mastering it, putting it on streaming sites, are you happy with it, or you're like, I'm just gonna let it go?
That's a great question. I mean, let's see. So I guess this goes back to like those three levels of satisfaction of being proud, but feeling like you need to say something about what you don't like, and then being proud, just unequivocally proud. And I think of the three songs I have out now, the closest I've come to feeling unequivocally proud of a song I've made is "Talk to Me." I'm like telling the truth, and I think I did my best to make it beautiful. And also, I mean, what Kyle said is that it sounds like me. Whereas the other two songs I've released, as much as I like recognize both my and Kyle's effort in producing them, and I enjoy them, there's I think I'm playing a character who is me, but could also be played by other people. And Talk to Me, it's like, I guess the feeling, like maybe this is the clearest way to articulate it, the feeling I get when I listen to it. And there are a lot of artists who are like, I don't listen to my music. Like I like listening to my music. Like, I don't know. It's I make it almost as much. Well, not this isn't worth quantifying, but it is worth admitting that I make the music I make because I want to listen to this certain music that, as far as I know, doesn't in this particular form exist. Not just like I recognize that. I don't have this impression that my music is in any way like completely different than other music that's available. But what I'm pursuing when I make a song is a feeling when I'm listening to it. And Talk to Me is the first time where I've imagined that feeling. And gotten something that, if not identical to what I was imagining, because the way you imagine a song always differs from what it becomes. It gave me a feeling that was just as good. And so that's with that song. Yeah, it's like there are like little things that I could like point out that aren't optimal about it, but I respect my own effort on the song and Kyle's huge effort to make it sound good with 1,000 takes enough to like not say those. Like, I have disclaimers in my head, but they're small and they're not important. All I want to say is like, here's something I made that I am proud of and enjoy, and if you would like to hear a new song, like I would love for you to listen to it. That's how I feel about it. And then the other two songs, I'm like Easy and Sea Lion. I'm always like touched and happy and appreciative when someone else likes them, and I like them too. There are just things about them that where I don't know. I guess there's just a certain remove between the emotions I was feeling and the emotions I was projecting, and that's fine. I mean, a lot of musicians, I think, make a career by creating a character and performing as a character, and I guess there are musicians who kind of change the character they are with every album. And inevitably, I'm not pretending that like my music is like a pure and unshaped version of who I am. Of course, I put in 1,000 takes to sound the way I want to sound, but that sound ultimately with this one song, you know, I'm 1 for 3 so far, is a sound that I recognize as being from my heart, and that is exciting for me.
So how do you feel? You shared with me a song you're working on now, Magic. Right? How do you feel about that?
Really
you had
good.
A session today.
I feel really good.
Okay. Now tomorrow, is it possible that would change?
No.
Or you don't know until tomorrow?
I'm in love with this song, and it's largely, well, there are a lot of things to credit for that. I'm not, and like, I mean, when I say I'm in love with it, I like stand by that, but it's not like I don't think anyone else should necessarily be in love with it. It's just like, oh, like this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like, this is the feeling I wanted for myself and for the person, for my girlfriend, for the person I wrote it for. And I mean that in a way is the hardest thing when this is a new experience, like making a song for someone who's still in my life. Yeah. And
not a preemptive
strike.
Don't break up with me song.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Well,
that's got to be a better motivation too, right?
Well, it is, and it's also like it's you know, in a way the stakes. It's just like, I don't know, when I writing a song for her, because I just have so much admiration, and love. I want to make the best thing I can. And I mean, I'm so grateful to be in that position. Yeah. Like, that's like, you know, it's just great to feel that good, and it's great to feel that good as an artist wanting to make a song. Like, I think in my life and in most songwriters I know's lives, the opportunities to make a compelling sad song are just much more frequent. Yeah. To make a compelling happy song, that I don't think that's because life is overwhelmingly sad or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. I think sadness speaks through music a little. Well, that I don't necessarily believe in this statement I'm making, but there's something about joy that's very easy to destroy by articulating it. Like, for example, if something really wonderful happens, I sometimes won't write it down anywhere, or sometimes I'll write it in a language that isn't English, so it feels, it's like I'm protecting the moment. And so when I have this wonderful feeling, I also want to protect that feeling. And like, if I'm going to make a song, it better be damn good. And I feel great about where it's going. My voice is a little bit broken, partly because before today I was awake for 72 hours recording. But I think it works for this song, because I started writing it when my voice was like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can't quote can't unquote sing right now, but I have this feeling I want to speak to this person, and so I'm going to try. And I made the limitation of not being able to sing the way I wanted to, I think, made me make something that I wouldn't have made otherwise. So that's a long but controlled answer to your question.
So we're here at the early part of 2019.
Yeah.
What do you have planned for the rest of the year? Like, what would you like it to look like?
What would I? Well, those
are two different questions.
In my opinion, definitely distinct questions.
Part 1 and part 2,
but certainly
that's
certainly
A and B
worth
question.
considering. Well, my plan is to go. I'm going to southern China in a couple of weeks. I am doing modeling work with the purpose of making money to basically I worked as a teacher and a model, saved a lot of money and just chose to spend it all on my music. And
it's an investment.
I can totally respect the perspective that is like, I don't know, someone who would, I can understand that decision compromising someone else's respect for me. I can relate to why I did it, because it's not only my dream to make music I'm proud of, but it's a dream that I lost for a long time, for 4 years. And so it's like, well, here I am. I want to do it right. And as I'm learning and becoming a little more efficient, will also become more efficient from a financial perspective when I make my music. But I need, to continue it, I need some money. So I'm going to China. They pay you by hour there, and I'm gonna do as much modeling work as I can. I'm gonna go see my girlfriend in Paris, which I'm excited about.
Where are you living now?
I'm at the moment I'm at my mom's house in Boston, and it's great because I bought a Rode NTK, a condenser mic that I really like the sound of. Kyle recommended it, and an interface. And so, it's pretty darn quiet, and I have time and the equipment to make songs. And so, I've been there in total. I've spent like about 6 weeks there. I was working in Paris in the fall, came home. And I had this time at home with my mom and my dog. I made the song Magic. I would love to finish one more recording. We'll see. And then I'm gonna go to China. I'm gonna go to Paris. I would love to release my record by the summer solstice.
When's that?
I love that. I think it might change a little bit year to year, but it's usually around. If it's not the 21st, it's the 20th or maybe the 22nd.
That holds like a special.
I love that day. It's cool that it's the longest day of the year, and I love that time of year. I love the beginning of summer because of the possibility it holds, and because of its novelty. Like, I appreciate the warmth in a special way in the beginning of summer.
So those are the plans.
Those are the plans. And that's what I would like to do. I'm totally curious about what life in Guangzhou is going to be like. I'm there for 60 days.
Okay.
I'm going to bring a guitar. And then once I release it, I'm going to, I think at some point I became comfortable with like the fact that I want to become famous, and that I also recognize the very small probability, but it's like, I think
you actually don't know that,
but I don't know that.
Yes,
exactly. Like,
yes.
It's sort of like step one is like, I'm still a little embarrassed when I said it out loud in a recording.
This is a safe space to say, I want to be famous too.
Say word.
Yeah.
And by the way, so I was listening to your podcast, and I was just it's amazing. Like doing this on a weekly basis, and you have what 100 almost 170 episodes.
Yeah.
Like that. I have a ton of respect for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Especially, I've made like 3 songs in a year, and I understand who I am or why I work the way I do as an artist, but I have a huge respect for people who treat art as a vocation and like get it done on a regular basis. So it's an honor that anyone thinks that it would be interesting to talk to me and record it, but it's an honor to be on this long-standing thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So you got the album, we got Magic, possibly another song. That sounds like a great year. Yeah.
I'm hoping Magic should be out. Let's just say it will be out, and then we can correct that if necessary. It'll be out February 8th. I got pushed back a little bit. My friends who are very important to me, I told them I'd play a show, and I had like, some challenges in the studio, but your relationships gotta come first. I played the show, and as a result, I have to postpone the mixing a little bit till Monday. But we finish. I'm gonna be there in the studio tomorrow. We finish Monday, get it mastered. Should be available Wednesday. I'm gonna submit it to Spotify playlist as always. Fingers crossed. I have no idea how that works, but it makes sense to open yourself to every opportunity. And then the song will be out. Time for Valentine's Day. Yeah,
perfect timing. And modeling, how's that going?
I mean, modeling's a weird thing.
How many years now have you been doing it?
4.5. Modeling has been a wonderful opportunity for me to travel and be able to earn money in a way that still gives me a lot of free time. So I'm very grateful for that. And it's not something that I identify with. Like I pretty categorically, I don't know, I've probably said it, but corrected myself. I don't say I'm a model because I just don't, in the same way that like I used to say I'm a teacher with a lot of pride. And I guess I say, in other languages, I would definitely say I'm a musician. And in English, I guess I would say it too. And the only reason my reservation in English is like I don't feel like I'm a fully developed or realized musician. But with modeling, I like do modeling work. And for the moment, it's a way to support my art.
It's your day job.
Yeah, it's my extremely sporadic and unpredictable day job. Yeah.
So, Samuel, the best way for people to connect with you online, keep up with what you're doing?
The best way to connect with me online, probably the starting point is Instagram. My handle is Samuel Worthen, Worthen. By the way, boys, you can totally call me Sam. Whatever you prefer, but I had a phase of introducing myself as Samuel, and I just always felt like I was lying. My mom calls me Sam.
You feel more like a Sam than Samuel?
It's just like, I think Samuel is maybe a stronger name. I like the name Samuel. The name. But I don't, in English, when I'm thinking in English, I've never addressed myself as Samuel. So it was an experiment. I introduced myself as Samuel for a while to the confusion of my friends who were like, you're definitely just Sam. And I'll still, that's my artist name. It is my legal name. But I call myself Sam, and my mom calls me Sam. You can call me whatever you want. I feel like, to be genuine with you, I want to tell you that you can call me Sam if you want to.
Thank you. You did say the handle, right?
So the handle is, sorry everyone, is Samuel, Samuel Worthen, Worthen. And if you go to Instagram, you can, in my bio, there's a link. It will lead you to Bandcamp. And if you would like to listen to my music in whatever form is best for you, just search Samuel Worthen on Spotify, iTunes, whatever. I think I'm usually will be the only one, and you can listen to my music there.
Yeah, sounds good. This was great.
It was great for me as well.
Sam/Samuel.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it. This was wonderful.
I appreciate it.
Secondhand smoke works like magic, and baritone like a saxophone that's twisted around itself like I wanna be twisted around you tonight. Broken watch works like magic since you got it fixed. The sun keeps rising higher until the night you can take it off. Take me in one-on-one with the yellow lights of Belgium sliding over sweet sleeping. I told the goddess of love's planning I don't wanna stop being your man. Your brown eyes work like magic, dissolve the meanness in my chest. When you kiss my lips and look at me, I wanna be what they see. Oh Lordy. in this would not end of June's just shaking with emotion. And you can talk to me, you can talk to me, little bird. We've got both great oceans between us. You can talk to me. Last night in your kitchen, did you know it was the last? I didn't. Hell no. We were dancing with a table between us and the room outshined by two blue fabrics as you made them move in time. I can't dance the way that I would like to, but you can dance with me. You can dance with me. I still use the shine you left in my shoes. I miss you. Talk to me. I'm in love with the world tonight, and that big in the shoulder shirt you like. Walking to work beside the last lightning beetles of summer. It's a 3-day move. It's the scene in black and white. It's somebody screaming, Mama, if I keep him in my room, baby, he's a wild animal. Da-da-da-da-da.
And you just heard two from my guest, Samuel Worthen, Talk to Me on 101, the brand new single. Check him out online everywhere. I'm online also at talkmusictalk.com for more podcast information and to stream every single episode. And if you want to follow me on social media, I love Instagram, so follow me there at This Is Boice, and some call to actions for you. If you enjoyed this episode with Samuel, please share it on social media, email it to a friend, or leave a 5-star rating and or review, especially on iTunes, because of course this all helps to grow the TMT audience. You can also download the TMT app. It is free for iPhone and Android. You can get it wherever you like to get your apps. You can subscribe on Spotify or iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and more. Just search Talk Music Talk. You can also find the podcast on SoundCloud, starting with episode 100. That's soundcloud.com/This Is Boice. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Until next time, and there will be a next time, this one's for you, Liz.